To order at 7 o'clock on Monday, October 2nd, the year 2023. And we have some consent agenda items, including the minutes of the September 18th, 2023 school board meeting. We've got some professional staffing recommendations and some co-curricular staffing recommendations, and some other personnel items that do not require a vote. So I would look for a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented.
So moved.
Thank you, Tom.
I'll second.
Thank you, Kate. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-1.
4-0.
Okay.
Correct, just to confirm, 4-0.
You said
Oh,
four.
I'm sorry, yes, right.
We're not used to having four.
Yeah. All right, so then we can move on. Do we have any public comment, Angie?
We have not received any public comment prior to the meeting, and we have not had anyone register to make a public comment in person tonight.
Okay. Then we will move to McFarland High School student report with our student council representative. Oh. there's
Hello.
Joey. Hi. Hello.
And we've got Sakari joining me today.
Wow. we have
Hi.
All kinds of great visitors. Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. All right.
Oh, we can't. We can't hear you, Joey, for some reason.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Let me make sure this is up.
Looks like that. Oh, there it is.
Okay, try again.
Can you guys hear me?
Now we
Yes.
got it. There we go.
We got you. We just
Okay.
didn't turn up the volume.
Oh. All right. Okay. We'll go ahead and get started then. All right. So highlights from this week.
All right, so I'm going to start off with this week's homecoming week at MHS. Beginning this week is the annual dodgeball tournament, where students form their own teams and compete in advisory. And then throughout this week, the McFarland Student Council will be hosting dress-up days, and our very own Spartan Manufacturing has also made specialized t-shirts for each class. And then new this year, after the homecoming parade on October 4th, there will be a kickball tournament between grades on the MHS football field. Then bringing our homecoming week to an end will be the pep rally on Friday. And later that night, the McFarland High School football team will be playing their homecoming game, where at halftime, homecoming royalty will be announced. And on our homecoming royalty is Joey.
Thanks.
And then finally on Saturday, the dance will take place, where royalty will be announced again. And this year at MHS, a new bell system has been established. There's a 10-minute and a 2-minute warning before each class to inform students how much passing time is left. We want to say thanks to our admin for working hard to choose an appropriate bell and trying to make class time reminders fun.
It's class time.
Yeah, well done.
I can't say anything because I'm not at school usually, so.
Funny.
But then also, we've had our choir retreat, where recently students from MHS went on their annual choir retreat, where they participated in a variety of activities and got to stay the night. And now I'm going to pass it back over to Joey, talk about Suicide Prevention Awareness Month at MHS.
Awesome. Yeah. So September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Well, I guess it was. It's October now. But Hope Squad raised awareness for Suicide Prevention Month by holding a table in the morning, greeting students as they walked into school. So we handed out candy, 988 crisis line stickers, and a bunch of magnets, some other swag just to get the good mood going. It was a Monday, so it was great. There's also been McFarland DECA tailgates. So DECA hosted its first tailgate of the year on September 8th before the homecoming game. Not homecoming game, the home football game. Meals were sold for $6 a plate. And there was also face painting, yard games, music, and a photo booth. They also donated part of the proceeds to Make-A-Wish. That was super awesome. At the football game, they also held their MDA Miracle Minute and raised $393. So again, awesome. They will also be holding another tailgate this Friday before the homecoming game. And finally, girls tennis at conference. So our girls tennis team spent the weekend playing at the Nielsen Tennis Center. They played all weekend, did a super awesome job, and they earned second overall in the conference. So congratulations to the girls tennis team. All right, and now just a little bit about connecting what we are up to these days, because it's been a while. But so just at the start of the year, these are some of our goals for just this year in general. So far, we are looking to work with other equity-focused clubs at MHS and collaborate with each other to work towards shared goals. We are working currently on planning an event that could allow us all to meet in one place and discuss our goals for this year with each other. We're thinking about doing what we would call an equity picnic, just having a bunch of food, discussing goals, and just kind of collaborating. We are also looking to incorporate other members of Connect and members of different clubs in school representations, woot woot, so they can share what they're working on and passionate about. We're also looking to fundraise for our club and hosting more events. And just with our new admin team, we're looking to communicate with them and building a new strong foundation for a student admin relationship that will carry on over the next few years. We also had our first meeting today, so that was super awesome. And yeah, it is also Wisconsin School Board Appreciation Week. So yeah,
Here we go.
we just want to say thank you to our wonderful, wonderful school board members. You guys are great. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's it for this week. Any questions at all?
No, just a comment at Joey. We've only been in school for a month,
Yes.
and your involvement and the committee's involvement, organization is phenomenal. What you do to support other students and here within the whole community. So thank you for all your hard work and the committee's hard work.
Well, you picked up right where you left off. Last
Yes, you
year, you
did.
guys are great. You bring a positive vibe, and it's a great attitude, and I think I think you can feel it in school this year. I think there's a bit of a different feeling. And, you know, and your organizations have a lot to do with that. And congratulations on being chosen for the homecoming court.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Getting all embarrassed.
I also like your suggestion of having other students communicate to the board
Yeah.
during
we
this
really
time.
need to
It'll
work
be
on
interesting
that.
to hear, different perspectives and that.
Yeah.
So,
No.
good idea.
All
Yeah,
right.
great job today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Sakari.
Bye.
Thank you, Joey.
Have a good week.
Bye.
Okay, moving along, we have a esteemed guest, Fred Bartman, here to talk to us about the IMMS Mentor Program. Sir, the floor is yours. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for
Welcome
having me.
here.
And also, happy School Board Appreciation. Nothing says appreciation like a long meeting.
Quite a
And we have
privilege.
cupcakes.
Aaron's gonna let you get out before midnight tonight, yeah?
It's really up to them.
Oh, good job.
Oh, boy.
Really
Oh,
up to
boy.
them.
I suspect we may
We
have.
heard them, yeah.
Yeah.
We are scheduled to finish at 8:44.
Yeah, 8:44.
44, all right. All right, so I appreciate giving me some time just to come in and share a little background about what the mentoring program is and kind of what our goals are, our vision for going forward with it. So the mentoring program, if we go to the next slide, started out as, and you can click into all of those, really, it starts with looking at what our data says, right? So our district, kind of recognizing what students are struggling, who's doing really well, And so we started by looking at that data, and then also looking at how does that, what are also the school goals and the district goals and the direction that people are going. So recognizing that we want to improve overall achievement for all students around mental health. Also making some positive connections and positive relationships with students is important in the district. And then that idea of improving success rate, especially for our minority and at-risk students. Those are some of the ones that we're targeting through the program. So really coming right back to that idea within our mission statement, which is meet the needs of every student every day. And so that kind of led us towards the idea of this mentoring program. And I have some history with the mentoring program because I wrote the curriculum and started it when I worked in Middleton, and I had the opportunity to run the program there for, I think, 9 years. By the time I left Middleton, we had just about 40 mentors coming into the building every week to work with students on a one-to-one basis. So I've seen what that can do and what it can grow to. So last year we started out with a small group of 3 mentors, and kind of got the ball rolling with that. And if you go to the next slide, yep. So the idea of mentoring is not new and not something that other districts aren't doing. I mean, there's a lot of research and a lot of statistics that kind of show the influence that mentoring can have. So if you look at specifically some of the information from the Boys and Girls Club, talks about improving attendance rate, decreasing the chances of starting drugs or alcohol. So we know that there's a lot of data that shows why it's important. Also, just anecdotally, we all kind of know that as well, right? It's that making those connections with those kids is so important, and that's the big part that the mentoring program does. So the goals of the program starts with the idea of just really providing that one more adult, one more positive influence in a student's life that's encouraging them to do well in school and come to school working hard every day. We're targeting students who might be struggling in math and or reading, but we always really emphasize it's not a tutoring program. So the mentors are not coming in and doing tutoring, working with kids on the academics per se, but they are encouraging the kids to come to school every day with that attitude of like wanting to be there, feeling connected, and feeling like they can be successful, so that all of those other interventions that our school district already has a lot of energy and effort into are that much more successful and that much more productive. So we target 6th and 7th graders specifically so that we can kind of build that rapport as they go through middle school. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So as far as what we expect from the mentors, so we ask mentors to try and come once a week for 30 to 45 minutes during the school hours. One thing I always say to the people who are considering it is once a week is what we try and predict, what we try and plan for. Life happens, though. There's times when you're out of town. There's times when you might have surgery or you need to take a couple weeks off. Those things we can plan for, and that totally works. The one thing that we want to avoid, I think, is having somebody that isn't able to be consistent and like last minute drops, because that puts the student in a position of feeling like they're we wouldn't want to put them in that situation where they feel like somebody's not totally committed. So provide feedback about the lessons and connect with, connect if they need to miss. And then we do provide a training session at the beginning of the year. So the other piece of the program really is that we really want to try and provide a little bit of commonality or like a common direction and focus for the mentoring. So historically, some districts, and Middleton was in this boat beforehand, was we would have people from the community saying, I want to work with students, and we would say, okay, great, here's a kid, go do your thing, and good luck. And so this provides a little bit of structure to it. So I've created some like mini lessons that all mentors get trained on. So in year one, the mentors are really, it's all built around building a positive, trusting relationship. So you can see some of the topics that we go through in year one, and so there's 10 or 11 lessons that all the mentors are asked to do with their students. Outside of that, they really have, it depends on what the mentor and what the student really are interested in, because you're going to meet with your student way more than 11 times, but it gives some direction. And it also provides an opportunity for some of those topics that wouldn't just normally come up in like everyday, day-to-day conversation necessarily. It gives them an opportunity to dig into some of those deeper topics as well. So the mentor program is, in the commitment, we ask mentors to commit to 1 school year. That being said, if you finish and the year went well and next year everybody's in the similar position and the mentor feels like they can continue and the student's still back, we do have a program built that is, the idea is that you can stay with that student throughout the whole middle school career. So there's a whole separate curriculum in year 2. So our people that worked with the students last year are all coming back this year. And year 2 gets a little bit more into like academic success. Still not tutoring, but they're talking about what kind of learner are you? How do you study for tests? How do you stay organized? A little bit more making sure that they are feeling that confidence, building that confidence around school. And then year 3, theoretically, when they are in 8th grade, would be a little bit more future focused and thinking about like what's that transition to high school look like? What are some careers you might be interested in? And so it kind of builds on that as they go through. So every year ends with a celebration dinner where we invite the families to come in as well to share a meal together. And the mentors get an opportunity to present an award to their student and say some really nice things about them. And that really like solidifies, that how that year went and what that year meant to those kids and to the mentees. So that's a great way to end the year. So that is the program in a nutshell. Right now, we're currently recruiting for mentors this year. Kind of my goal in the back of my head is to try and add 10 new mentors every year, so that we're around that 30 mentors mark by year 4. So we're recruiting right now, and then I'll hold a lesson or a training at probably the middle towards the end of October, and before the end of October is when we'll have that first pairing and that first connection where we're actually connecting mentors with the students. So, questions?
How many kids do you currently have in the program?
3.
Okay.
So we have 3 mentors that started last year, and it went really well. Yeah, kids really like day 1 or at supply drop off. I had every one of the families and kids come up and ask me, "Are we going to have the mentor? Are we going to meet with our mentors again this year?" Which was cool that every one of them and their family came up and sought me out to ask for that. So yeah,
Okay.
It's neat.
What have you heard from the mentors themselves following, through
Yeah, it's
last year?
Yeah, it's fun to, the first meeting the first meeting of the year is all together. All the students and all the mentors meet at the same time, just once, because the mentors are, I wouldn't say probably, the mentors are definitely more nervous than the kids are. Definitely.
There's no doubt about that.
And so it's fun to watch like all of them, like the group walks in with a lot of like, I'm not quite sure what is going to happen with this or what this is about. And like literally in one session, in that first session, they're like super pumped to get going and like, when do we get to meet again? So yeah, I often hear from mentors that they went into it thinking that they would be able to help another student and be able to teach them some things, and they often say that they feel like they got way more out of it than the student did, and they learned as much or more from the students than they felt like they taught the students. So.
And does or will the mentor program have any relationship with the McFarland Youth Center? Since you'll be serving middle school youth, the youth center serves middle school youth?
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
One thought I do have is to provide a little bit more flexibility for mentors they could potentially meet with their student at the youth center after hours. So like in Middleton, the superintendent wanted to have a student, and he felt like he couldn't do it during the day, so he met with students. Middleton had a youth center as well, so he met, and we made sure to connect him with somebody there, and they met there. So it was just a little bit more flexible. So that was one thought I have had. Outside of that, though, I haven't gotten to that point yet.
I noticed that your mission for the mentoring program is identical to our district
Yeah.
mission. Was that done on purpose, or did it just happen to be that, turn out that way?
And I would love to say it was done on purpose. No, it wasn't. It really is. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Like
It does.
that's how
Yeah.
that's how you help kids and serve kids the best. And so the real value and beauty of the mentoring program is kind of twofold. One, watching those relationships grow from like just meeting to what they can be in 3 years is pretty remarkable. And then also just the impact that can have. Like if we have 30 adults coming into the building every week, like there's no way that my position or anyone, like even a combined student services, could have that impact. I mean, it's just the amount of power that many people have is pretty remarkable.
So the mentors focusing on assets and resiliency, or is that sort of incorporated into the curriculum? And
Yeah, it is. There's a couple of lessons in that first year that talk about strengths, and so that's one of the things that we talk about in in that first week. Like, what is a mentor? And it's somebody who highlights, what the strengths are of somebody, while also helping them, build up some of those weaknesses. But really the highlight is on those strengths. And I think that's the other thing that the mentors sometimes are not surprised, but like caught off guard by how many strengths they do have, right? Like wow, this kid is, they're being identified because they're struggling maybe in these couple of academic subjects, but man, there's all these other things that they do so well. So how do we like use those to strengthen those other areas? So, yeah.
I think as a district, we've been known to have multiple initiatives, new initiatives, maybe too quickly. But what you're bringing to the district is a significant initiative. But what's interesting is it's all dependent on community support.
Yeah.
So I applaud your efforts, with your expertise and your experience to bring this approach to our students here.
Yeah. I mean, what I found is that the first couple of years are the hardest to recruit because people don't know what the program is. They don't know necessarily what it's about. And you talk to a typical adult who doesn't work in the schools and try and convince them to work with a middle school student every year. They're like, what? No way. That sounds, no thanks. And then after.
They get a bad rap.
They do get a bad rap, right? So you have to fight against that. And so once you do that and people get into it, then like the ball starts rolling, and then they start talking to their friends, and it gets a lot easier to recruit after that, for sure. So I know one thing that I think is always in the back of my mind is recruiting a diverse group of mentors as well, and whether it's mentors of color or different backgrounds, like that kind of, I think that brings, adds value to the program overall as well. One thing I've learned too is that in the beginning, I put so much pressure on myself when I was making the connections. Like I got a lot of information from mentors and students. I really I put a ton of worry and thought into making sure that connection was the perfect connection. Now, what I've learned is I'm still thoughtful when doing that, but really it doesn't matter, because once the kid realizes this person wants to come in and just be there every week, the kid's all in. Like, they don't care who it is. They could be retired, it can be a college student, it can be, a tons of thing in common, or something where they don't have a lot in common. When they realize that person is really just coming in and that they're their main emphasis, like, the kids love it, they soak it up. So, yeah. It really can be anybody.
Would you ever consider having outstanding high school seniors serve as mentors?
I haven't, because it's a different dynamic. Even though, like you said, there is, for two reasons. One, the dynamic of student and student or student and adult is different. The other piece is I asked for a 1-year commitment, but there is a hope that that could go longer. So seniors are likely not going to be available the next year. And so that's the other reason that I haven't.
Okay.
So if you know of anybody, have them let me know. Yeah, we're recruiting now.
Anything else? Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Very
Enjoy the rest of your evening. What little of it there is left. Okay, Dr. Sarah Cutler, our WEVA Annual Performance Report.
Dr. Brown is on the line as well. I'll refer to him later. But you all got a PDF of kind of a report, and I don't have it up on the screen because there's just a lot in there, and I don't need to read it to you. I just want to point out a few things. First of all, the strategic plan remains kind of solid and the same, and we're not veering from our course. And in fact, we're slowing down. There's been a lot of shifts and changes since I came aboard, and we are just kind of catching up. And I think the data is just catching up. It's not what I want to see yet, but I am excited that we did have some wins. So the first thing I do want to point out is this: there's a graphic on the second page, and it's a slide graphic that we created, and underneath it, and I did find a typo, so I can fix that, is a narrative that goes along with it. And we're entering into national accreditation this year, which is a really intense process, and part of that is creating executive narratives. But I think this page may be helpful to you as well. It's been helpful to my staff, to all my our stakeholders, because it's really complicated who we are, right? And how we're governed and how all the pieces fit together. So along with the graphic and the narrative, it may help you to explain, like, wait, are you guys the ones with that virtual school? And one of my goals as a leader has been to connect with colleagues across the state. So I've gone to the state convention and to the state superintendent's conference to really reframe who we are and how we can partner. So that's been a goal. And so you can see, instead of being called WEVA, we continually refer to ourselves as WVA or Wisconsin Virtual Academies, because there are 4 charters and 5 schools and 4,000 kids. So
It's 4,000 now?
it's about that. Last year we hit 4,000 at the top. Yeah.
What was it pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID was about 2,000 was the top.
That's what I thought.
Yep. And so during COVID, we had a little bit, the highest was a bit over 4,000. We hit that at one point. And our enrollment last year, we accept kids all year long.
Right.
Right? So one of the biggest shifts we've made is, well, how do you accept kids all year long when every week you may have 100 new students? So the in and out of what we do is very different than what a brick and mortar does. But I say there's 4,000 different reasons kids come, and they come from every corner of our state.
Right.
And nowhere else in the state can you be in homeroom and with kids from Milwaukee and Superior and Kenosha and just the incredible experience that the students get in that way. So wanted to provide that. In the second page at the end, excuse me, there's 5 key projects that we are working on. Everything else is really a traditional strategic plan, almost like here's our corresponding priorities and here's how we're measuring them. But one of them was really about our secondary students and preventing that withdrawal, truancy, and fail to participate. And I want to point out, because that's what you see every month, I pointed that out last year, and I want to point out a couple of data points related to that. and also talk about some strategic politics, really, in the state regarding failed to participate. The next is DCA, Destinations Career Academy, and not only are we expanding enrollment, and we're up to 500 students, but over 100 of them are part-time. For example, Fall River High School has 50 part-time students enrolled in our business academy.
Wow.
They can't find a business teacher. Now, if you're at the state superintendent conference, you're hearing all over how hard it is. CTE teachers in particular. So instead of hiring a business teacher, they bought seats in our courses, and it's a better financial opportunity for them, and long-term, and a programmatic choice where they have a counselor. So we are creating partnerships with like that across the state. We have a consortium of districts in the Northeast who have signed a partnership agreement with us, and they're tiny schools, like 160 kids. But within the group of them, if they get so many kids, they can buy seats from us. Now, you can do that at Wisconsin Virtual School. You can do that from Power. That's not uncommon. You all have been doing it for years, right? You buy asynchronous courses. The difference is you can buy seats actually in our synchronous courses where you're in class with kids. And the challenge, of course, for those other school districts would be how does that fit into a schedule? So we are working through some different ideas, but you can also see the build partnerships. That goal actually blossomed, like exploded this year. Not only have we had a partnership with one city, and we have a blossoming partnership with Boys and Girls Club of Wisconsin, but we also have partnerships with 5 different CISAs right now, and technical colleges. So just kind of exploding what we could do. One of the key areas that you'll see in the next year change is how we do onboard students, because we believe that if we onboard students strong, you're going to see less offboarding. So that is another key area there. So that next page really talks about how the first 2 priorities, the multi-tiered system of support and personalized learning plans, we really kind of met those goals and are on track. And then moving forward, we're continuing with those 5 project goals. So I'm just going to kind of follow along if you like, but otherwise I'll just... You will notice a little discrepancy between the graduation rates on the first page and the graduation rates later. When we thought what graduation was going to, and I left it this way on purpose, what we anticipated and then what was calculated. We have kids graduating all summer long. So our anticipated graduation rate in June doesn't always match what it ends up being in October. And we have many students, and actually I can move straight to that data page, which is on, I guess I don't have the page numbers, but it's the top that says graduation. We actually have many students that you will see are continuing into year 5.
The first graduation I attended, I think, had 12.
Well, you can see the pictures in here, and I would love to have all of you come. We worked on the calendar a little bit better this year. Our graduation will be that Friday, and I have to June, whatever, the first Friday in June, I believe. And it will again be at Madison College, because we're too big for WEVA.
Ain't that great, though?
It is, yeah. And I tell people over and over, it's one of the best times spent. I shake every student's hand. Some students defer.
Yeah.
And it's such an incredible difference in the type of youth that walk that stage.
You can't explain it until you've been on that stage
No.
with those kids. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, and you're all invited. You're all invited. It really is an incredible, and I tell so many stories about it. Like each year, there's a student who has so much social anxiety they can't get to the stage. They wait until everybody leaves, and then their counselor will say, "Can you just go up to the stage and do it with them?" And we mock through it. And, yeah. So, one of the best things that happened in this last year, and I'm really proud of, and we'll be presenting at the National Digital Conference about, is that Weaver High School got off of the state improvement list. And that was because of the multi-tiered system of support, because of the structures we put in place. However, Insight got put on the school improvement list. And this is a policy, state policy challenge, because I don't think Insight will ever come off if we're just looking at graduation rate. Because Insight's whole purpose is to envelop students who would not otherwise graduate. So
Right.
I say to people, and we only can go up to 250 kids, which we met that cap. If 47% of kids graduate, that's 47% more than zero, which every single student who comes to Insight would not have graduated. And that's why, that is exactly its purpose, is credit deficient students. So I'm looking at how to rebrand, re-talk about that school and what they do and what we're proud of. The good thing about being on the state improvement list is you get a nice grant, which we got already, or we already got approved for. So we'll be looking at some innovative ways to support our alternative high school. So this is where I wanted to talk a little bit about fail to participate. And I've been asking to look at that data around regarding what is the percentage and numbers. So the first year I came, I was like, we're not doing this. Like, until we have a really strong system in place, we're not just gonna unenroll or ask you to unenroll students. Once we had that system in place and we truly believed, and I looked and we went through every single thing possible to support that student, we believe that it is our due diligence to say, you need to go back to you're not here, you haven't been here for a month, you're not, right? It's our responsibility. So on the page at the top where it says engagement, on the right, you will see enrollment numbers, 4,162 last year. The total number of students that you approved to unenroll, 404, is the largest since 1819. Percentage-wise, it is the largest since that we've gone through. And this is a push and pull for me. It's something I'm watching really closely. Did we do everything we could for those 404 students before you say that they need to go back to their resident school district? And this is where I am going to continue to question and ask DPI what they can do to support, because not all those students, so of those 404, some of them 70 of them ended up on our dropout rate. Because 70 of those students never got picked up by their home school district. Because their home school district doesn't have to re-enroll
Right.
them
Right.
unless the parent enrolls. So it's a push and a pull about that, and my goal is to find a better way to support those students who are lost. We're one of the
Kind of a
only,
helpless feeling.
yeah, pardon?
It's kind of a helpless feeling,
Helpless,
just,
yeah.
to see that,
Yeah,
and knowing that a good share of the kids that are sent back to their
Yep.
original districts aren't gonna get re-enrolled in their original districts.
right,
Then where do they go?
right. And whose responsibility
Right,
is it?
right.
Right? And I am not, what I want to say is, I'm not saying I'm giving up, but I would like you, partner district, to help me find where this student goes next. So it's really, we worked really hard on a clear onboarding process, and we've worked hard, very, very hard, first at a clear up to you're now being under, but what do we do to the moment they come to you? Do we actually have any other post-withdrawal process? And that's something I want to look at. And that's going to be a partnership beyond just us. It's going to have to be with other stakeholders.
With the younger grades, let's say K through 2, because I noticed there's quite a few, kindergarten for second graders on that list. Is there anything that's different about once you unenroll them? Because obviously these younger kids are solely reliant on their families, their parents. So there's no other rule about their home district having to pick them up without the parent re-enrolling them?
No. Our number of students who are experiencing homelessness has drastically increased in the last 2 years as well. So sometimes those families, and you might see those students all from one family, we don't know where they go. And I've actually had some good conversations with colleagues and superintendents who are like, well, they're not a resident here any longer. So where is the statute? So there's a lot of gray area in this. We don't see as many K-5 students that we're unenrolling, that you all are unenrolling, right? That are lost, but. And we started the communication with the resident school district much earlier than we had in the past. That was one of as soon as that child's first warning, like, you've missed 5 days. We haven't seen you in 5 days. And when I'm saying we haven't seen you in 5 days, I'm saying you haven't answered an email. Like, not that you haven't told us why you were gone. You haven't turned in anything. Like, you haven't seen you in 5 consecutive days at all. The school district gets a letter as well as.
Okay.
So we're intervening earlier, and now the question is, once that school district, then what? At that school district, who is responding, and are they? I know I'm not going to get very far with Milwaukee.
Right.
I'm just not. Even DPI says there's no truancy enforcement in Milwaukee or Madison. There just isn't. But in other smaller districts, there is. And so if we can find a way to do it in one place, we can replicate that in many.
Okay.
Sarah, did you say that there are 70 students that were considered dropouts?
Correct.
At one time, we wouldn't be able to release a student's record. They had to remain on our enrollment registration here until they re-enrolled somewhere else. Is that no longer applicable, Aaron? Do you
No,
know?
that's the case.
Huh?
That's
Oh,
the case. Yeah,
Not
we-
for open enrolled students.
But open enrollment is different.
How about virtual school?
They're open enrolled.
Oh.
So as soon as you deny their open enrollment, that's not the case. If they aren't enrolled somewhere else, and then they're still on our list, our data at the DPI. the state. There's Mr. Brown. This is an area Mr. Brown and I are very passionate about together.
Thank you. I can say something here because we have been working on this since I was superintendent, which it's an interpretation of the law. We feel that when a student is returned to the district following the law, which says that, the district should go to the appropriate DPI website and click and readmit the student and then begin truancy proceedings or whatever else to have that student be their student. And we've taken Shana Lewis there. I think we've done multiple meetings when I was superintendent, as well as when Nick was in Sarah's role, as well as with Sarah. But at this point, the position of DPI is that that parent has to go back to their original district, sort of admit that the virtual school didn't work, that their relationship has been ended by the McFarland School District, and re-enroll in the district. Otherwise, in essence, WEVA or whatever school they're in the WEVA group owns them till graduation. And it's really a law we think that needs to be changed. We think legislatively it's irresponsible from the standpoint of WEVA can't possibly coordinate statewide with all the individual towns and cities, truancy groups. That student really is left behind. The student should be clicked back in. The the district where they live would be aware of it, and if they don't show up to school, they would be truant. So it's really one of our legislative priorities. It's not going to happen through DPI naturally, even though we feel the law is clear that they return to their district. I believe that's the words that's used. But DPI interprets that as they have to go, knock on the door of the school their child will attend and re-sign up to enroll in that district. So it's a big deal. I really think it's an important thing that we're working on. I'm thrilled that Stride, who supplies, again, the curriculum for our virtual school, is seeking legislative remedy for this. It seems to me that it should be bipartisan. You think about how many efforts we made for No Child Left Behind, and yet every child would return to a district unless that district takes the initiative, is left behind. And with that, I'll close out here. Thank you.
Well, so you'll see, I think I'm wanting you to all know that I think we'll be pushing on some legislative change, hopefully in the next year, regarding this, and asking for some policy changes regarding this particular statute and how it plays out for kids. At the same time, I wasn't ready to do that until I knew I had internal systems that I could defend. And I totally believe I have those now. And also, I also wanted to be able to practice that idea of those relationships. One of the things that we started doing, again, is accepting expelled students. We're one of the only places. So I can say to a district, listen, this child had no place else to go. These are all the things we did. And yet, here's where they are. So, I'm going to partner with you because there are lots of students that come to us that are not successful, right? And we find a way to find success. So we are partnering in many children who are non-traditional learners. So let's partner both ways here is what I'm trying to say, right?
Do you find that, obviously, virtual school relies heavily on parental input, parental assistance? I mean, it's a pretty big commitment. Do you find that most of these students that don't engage, primarily it's because maybe they don't have the support at home that they would need to have to be successful?
Sometimes we have parents and families who say, I don't know how to help
I
my
bet.
child want to do school.
Yeah, I bet.
And our mentoring program is very strong. We've actually engaged in Check and Connect, which is a clear programmatic evidence-based intervention system for all of our mentors, and so it's very systematic. And we just have an incredible staff that we mentor, and every student has a personalized learning plan. So one of my goals for the high schools in particular is, what happens if we hit a double in size? We still have to have systems where we have personalized learning for every kid. And that's different, but it means you're gonna have to really understand what that kid needs and what their graduation plan is, what their post-graduation plan is, what makes them happy. Of course, since the pandemic, our student body's absolutely changed.
Yeah.
Credit deficiency has multiplied. Students they just aren't schooling in the way that they may have in the past. And so lots of times this is, maybe you can do this, right?
Oh, and theoretically, during the pandemic, virtual schools should have worked. It didn't involve sitting in a classroom with your teacher and all your fellow students. You were at home.
Yep.
Are you able to provide hardware should there be homes that don't have it?
It's actually a state statute, we must.
Okay.
Every part-time or full-time gets a computer, a printer, and a hotspot if they request a hotspot.
Wow.
Now, with the infrastructure going in rural Wisconsin, we're getting much better access to internet. What isn't in the report yet, but will be in next year's, is actually blended learning. You did see blended learning sites, but we did recently open, and we have 20 students
Wow. Oh, nice.
attending a blended learning site in Green Bay. Very specifically, none of their classes are in person, because then we wouldn't be a virtual school.
Yeah.
But their mentoring is in person. Their projects that they work on together are in person. This is part of Destinations Career Academy. And they are being mentored by the industry partners that also are in that building. So the building is both a school and a place of business. But you'll hear more about that because it's just developing. The last thing I wanted to point out was state testing. One of the other areas of legislation that actually is going to the legislative floor this month, I believe, is a bill that is asking for forward tests to be taken at home, so virtual proctoring. Now, all of our students do virtual testing,
Yeah.
but we are required to have all of our students go in person. I'm part of a coalition of virtual leaders. There's over 70 virtual schools in the state of Wisconsin. We are the biggest. And when DPI, we have a three times a year meeting statewide, and with DPI, kind of a coalition. And last year they came and asked us, why can't you get your participation rates up over 66%? Because on the report cards, participation at night is meant to be at night. And we universally looked at them and said, we run virtual schools.
Yeah.
Our families specifically chose this type of schooling. They do not want to go to their local library to take a high stakes test. So you're going to see hopefully some stories about this, and you can see in the report the top reasons students opted out, and just some fun statistics of the number of classes we cancel, the number of miles we travel, the number of boxes we haul, and it's in this day and age, it's just silly. There's absolutely no reason, and 5 other states have already passed this law, and we have the software to make it secure. We have the ways to do it. So
Frustrating.
So that you'll be seeing that one. I want you to all know and that's a push nationally with Strides and their schools as well,
But do you
because they
think-
just really believe that.
Do you
we
think
should
part of the issue is that legislatures don't necessarily understand what virtual schools are all about and how they work?
Well, I think
I mean,
first,
can they be educated?
yes, the pandemic helped because, Cindy Warden will say, I was running virtual schools before they were cool, right? Because she's been part of it forever, which is true. But everybody's had a different experience. Yes, it's not scary anymore,
Yeah.
right? Virtual schooling is, and many families will choose it for parts of different times. It doesn't necessarily have to be forever. One of the reasons we're talking to Boys and Girls Club is, and particularly in the tri-state area in Ripon, we may be able to enter into this partnership next year, is younger students, like you said, whose families maybe can't be home with them, but may be struggling for whatever reason at school, could go to the Boys and Girls Club's empty all day. And could be mentored by someone who's not a certified teacher while being taught by a certified, and that mentor could be someone of their own home area, their background, their culture, their language, right? Someone they trust, and it could be in a very small group. As an elementary principal in Madison, I just saw so many young children come who couldn't handle the schooling of the building yet. So
Sure.
I think that's an opportunity we could create at some point. So thank you for your support, because you're part of what I say the 21st century in education. In virtual schooling sure isn't going away. And I
No, I
think
wouldn't think.
blended learning is a huge opportunity for so many students.
Something needs to change. Maybe a dramatic change. 'Cause
Yeah.
at public education's.
That's why I'm
Got
doing
its
this
issues.
work, I'm telling you. Yeah.
Anybody have any
Yes, Sarah,
questions?
what would happen if we did not approve those students that failure to participate? What if we didn't approve those students? What would happen to
They
them?
would continue with us. I mean, if you said, no, we're not gonna unenroll, they would stay with us and and we would continue to reach out and go through interventions, but likely, I mean, I'm promising you, and I can come at any time and really show you in detail what I'm asking our staff to do before they come to you. Because I don't want any student to come to you. We are gonna have actually a couple of kindergartners, one kindergartner, not a couple. He's on the list 3 times, because we've tried 3 times for 3 different ways to try and reach this child and their family, who will come at the end of this month. And just now, the team is like, are you okay with this? And well, let's see, have we done, but if they're not answering the phone,
Yeah.
we can't, there's only so many things we can do. So this could be an issue if the family is gone. We don't know where they are. And I will go back, try again to home visits or home connections. And one of the reasons I want this blended learning site in Green Bay is so exciting is because the people who are employed and working there every day live there, right? And they're partnering with area school districts, and so you can have that. And then if a smaller district, let's say Ripon, was partner Fall Creek was partnering, and I could say, hey, you were the last resident school. Can you go check on this? We have a partnership. We have a relationship. So that's my hope and dream.
Yeah, I know a year ago, when you, Scott, and Aaron met, you talked about your vision of providing further support, maximum support for all students, interventions, whatever it was, so they wouldn't have to be placed on that list. And I applaud your efforts and all your teachers, because you are in a much different place now than you were even then.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's why we got off this. I mean, the state saw that. The state saw, the deans, the coordinators at the high school that we said last year, this is they're just blown it out of the park. And I've talked about them at our board meetings lots of times, because they're pretty good.
It is still difficult and frustrating as a board member to approve the list, knowing that some of these kids are going into
It's so.
no land.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like we've given up hope.
I think what
I
I
still struggle
would
with
like
that.
to send you on a regular basis is the number of students we've stopped from getting to that list.
Yes, that would be good.
Because the coordinators will say there were 200 students who got intensive supports and now are back engaged. Like hundreds of students that they re-engaged last
Yes.
year would have made that 400, years ago, would have that 400 would have been 800. And it's a different student body. It really is. And so my call to the staff is, then it's our job to change, not theirs. Because we're the grown-ups.
Adapt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown, last words?
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah, for allowing me. I join you from Arizona, so it hit 100 degrees 3 times in the past week, so it's a little warm here. I wanted to say a couple things just in closing. One is that we're beginning to transition in Sarah's relationship with Aaron. My role will be up, and we'll work on that transition along the way. One of the things the board should really be assured of is that I know leadership changes, but Sarah is by far, without question, probably one of the most competent administrators I've ever worked with. She is on top of things and will make Aaron's role of coordinating with this really almost a separate district, right? 4,000 students. If you could look at them as almost peers, and yet you have a contractual relationship. I have all the confidence in the world it won't overwhelm him, because it certainly hasn't overwhelmed me. The review we did a while back was a little bit overwhelming, but you can job that out down the road to someone else. I also wanted to just compliment Board Member Mooney on what he's brought to the table, attendance, involvement, great questions. I want to recognize as well the board president who has been with Jerry, who's been with WEVA since the very start. And finally, I'd just like to say to all of the board, this was a risk and an adventure really for us to do. We knew that the potential was for this to really be a phenomenal opportunity to organize it in a way that they would run independent and yet still under our supervision. We would be able to hopefully give them the freedom to go where they have to go. And I think reflecting on all the years you've sponsored as a independent virtual charter school, this charter school, the board, past board members and current board members should be really proud of the work they do. In a different situation where this is somehow tied into all of the daily activity of the McFarland School District, it would not work. It works because we have a great leader and in the school and good leadership, and as well your independence. So thank you for your role, and the legislative changes Sarah mentioned regarding testing, being able to test at home, which is what our parents and students pretty much expect, as well as making sure that we're really, when we're voting to have a student return to their district, that they return and there is follow-up, and the school district that we're returning them to is motivated for a variety of both legal and statutory reasons to follow up is the only responsible way to make it happen. And hopefully when that comes to light, school board members and others can contact the legislators and from McFarland and support that, because I think it's really, really important. And I don't know if I'll meet with you again on this in this particular venue, but I thank you for the opportunity. It's been a real honor to be able to follow up with this from the time I was superintendent. I appreciate your trust. And again, you have an Aaron, Sarah, I think a wonderful potential for many years of great harmony and good work for kids across the entire state. So thank you.
Hey, Scott, how long have we hosted WEVA?
I think, Tom, we signed them up in the second year of my superintendency, which would be like 2006 is when we reinitiated
07 is what the
organization.
charters say.
Yeah, 2007.
7? We probably started the discussion in 2006.
Right.
Yeah, that's when I started.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Brown.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you,
Always
Scott.
always a pleasure to see you and
Yeah.
learn from you.
I feel like you need to say retiree Brown because I'm in Arizona right now, Craig. So yeah, I feel like you don't know if Dr. fits anymore. So, but thank you very much.
You bet.
Great to see
Actually,
all
I
of you.
misspoke. It was 07 in Ozaki and 09 here.
Oh, so I started in 10, so just about been.
At least that's what the history documents say.
And one thing you said, Greg, that I think when I was superintendent and then the different years I was engaged, I never missed a graduation. I don't think I've missed one since I've been in the role that you all put me, but it's a phenomenal experience. I think until you see the graduation, you don't understand the good work that you're supporting and what you do, right? So, and also there's a certain magic about seeing the entire state connected in a way that you don't normally see. School districts of all sorts of backgrounds, students from school districts, all sorts of backgrounds come together, and it's really quite a celebration. So I'd encourage any board member, if you come, we'll stick you in the front row, right, Sarah?
Yep.
All right.
And June 7th is the graduation.
Thank you.
date.
Yep, right at the
Thank you.
Will it be divided again? Two separate
Yeah.
graduations? Okay.
Yep, they won't be as far apart this time, but yes. And we will also be opening the auditorium because we still didn't have enough space.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't hesitate to ever contact me and ask any questions.
Word on the street is that you're doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, well, if you listen to Mr. Brown, at least, that's, I don't know how much credibility that is, I'm just
Well,
teasing.
Mr. Tarnitzer has some nice things to say as well.
It's,
Yeah,
good.
and I matter.
And I serve on the board, witness that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks,
Were you
Sarah.
gonna,
I-
Megan's
can I
gonna
just
say
make a
something.
comment? Yes, I just want to say thank you, because and also to you, Tom, because I think this is one of the first things that I've experienced, like a full circle process, being a newest board member. No, not, well, kind of. But I think what I really love that I see in this partnership is you are reporting back, so we're not like in this vacuum of information the entire year, and then you come and give a report. And then also, in your leadership, I can see that you're identifying more systemic issues and trying to correct those, knowing that those are huge roadblocks. And so it's great to see that innovation in education. I think that's needed, and that's great. So,
Yeah, and if
thank
we
you.
can't do it, nobody can, because, you know, we're virtual, so. I say, let's fail forward, fail fast, fix, and move on. Yep, so.
I'm not even here, I'm in emoji right now.
Thank you, everyone, very, very much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay, and I don't do this very often, and I promise I try to promise not to do it, but before you start, can I have a minute or two just to drop
me how
something in?
great
Huh?
As long as it's
gonna
appropriate
say,
with the agenda.
It's
It's
going to
just
take us to beyond
You make-
8:44.
It's just an observation that I was able to make over the weekend concerning our community.
Okay.
Okay. As I'm sure we're all aware, and probably most everyone in the community, and this is where I mess up, was it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday, if I know what you're going to talk about.
Okay, yeah. Saturday evening, my wife and I were doing what everybody does. It's coming home from Costco. And Amber Alert came out regarding a missing 2-year-old. And by the time we kind of deciphered where the address was, it turned out it was up in April Hills. So, you know, being a parent, we had 2-year-olds and grandparent now. There was no question that we were gonna go home and grab the spotlight and, you know, go out and look. And I tell you, I think the call came in around 5:30, something, you know, of that nature. And by the time it took us to drive home, grab the spotlight, and go the mile out to April Hills, and I may tend to exaggerate occasionally, but I don't believe it's any exaggeration to say that there were hundreds of people, both on foot and in cars, just everywhere out in April Hills, and the surrounding areas. And I tell you that just the sense of urgency is there, but just seeing all these people, the sense of community, I honestly don't know that there were Republicans and Democrats out there, you know, but nobody really much gave a damn about any of that stuff. All everybody was there for was to find a family's 2-year-old child that probably none of them knew. Had a cool name also, Piper.
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a little ironic because as my wife and I were driving out there, I had said, boy, you know, that April Hills butts up against the rock quarry out there.
Yeah.
And if it's like any quarry that I've ever been in, there's water and there's steep hills and grades. So we were out there a couple hours, I guess, and then somehow it was almost like everyone in the entire area knew. They said that Piper had been found. And apparently, excuse me, through the use of, and this isn't firsthand, but through the use of a drone, they did find her in the quarry. horns were honking and you could hear people, you know, celebrating. It was just, it was a really incredible feeling. And I've lived here since the 60s. And there have been occasions in the past where it's obvious that emergencies really draw community together. And this was just another example of that. And, you know, you're just so proud to be a part of that community. It was a great feeling, and it had a great result. She was a bit bruised up and scraped up. Apparently, she had probably fallen. But safe and sound and back home with her family. It was just a great experience. You know, given the state of things nowadays, it takes a near tragedy to draw people together. It was really cool. I was really proud. Sorry.
No, thanks for sharing.
It's nice to see how
This is
we-
making you nervous. I don't know
No,
what you're
thanks
gonna
for sharing
say.
your observation.
Yeah, I know, you were on the edge of your seat, I know that.
It's another reason why McFarland is such a great community to live in, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep, everybody just dropped everything and went.
Absolutely. It was incredible how fast people got there and stayed there.
It's clear we all
And got the
care about each
result that
other.
everybody was obviously hoping for. Okay, then, moving on. District Administrator's Report.
All right, well, some recognitions. We'll get to you guys in a little bit. But it is also National Principals Month. So, pretty exciting month. I can speak from experience. It is a challenging, rewarding, bizarre, wonderful job. The analogy I give you, it's like riding a roller coaster you've never been on every day. And you have no idea what's going to happen. But we are so fortunate to have such a great group of principals and associate principals that really put students and staff first. So, so thanks to them. We will celebrate them all month with easy workloads.
Yeah.
We'll do our best. No promises out there on the YouTubes. Wanted to recognize Carrie Roberts, who is our Employee and Financial Services Director, who organizes an annual flu clinic for the district. This year, that will also include a COVID vaccination clinic. So pairing those things up. So as a staff member, I just have to sign up, and it'll be at a convenient location in each building, so
Do we
a
know
lot of
any
work.
approximate dates when those things might happen? I know.
And end of the month, I mean, but it's indifferent in each building.
Okay, end of October.
If we have the vaccines
Are the
available,
vaccines
right?
available, Kate? Have you seen?
Which ones? The flu?
They're-
The
No,
flu's
the
available.
COVID.
It depends.
They are in some communities.
Yeah.
But not in McFarland
Not,
yet.
no, the pharmacies don't even have them yet, as
Yeah.
far as I know,
Yeah.
but,
We're
but I think they're coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Do I know we had great results last time around doing it here?
Yes. And this is for staff, though, just to be clear. This is a
Right.
community vaccination, but yes. Yeah, so that will be great, so thank you to Carrie for that. Wanted to recognize the Mackeys, so Amanda and Corey, who donated a vehicle to our technology education auto department. So that was a cool thing. That's my first, you know, it's only my second year of soup, but that's, did you do that?
No, but if I may interject, Art and Cindy Weber donated a van to the district. Back, Art and I were
Yeah.
on the MEF together. That van's still going today. And that's gotta be.
Don't they use it mostly for athletics or?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Nice.
But I believe they're still using it today.
Nice.
That had to be 10, 12 years ago.
And then, so those vehicles are ones that we use like in the classes and the students maintain them? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I think it's service, and I don't know if they can resell or how that works.
Or
Yeah,
use
like I
it.
said, it's my first time.
We have quite a pool now of
I
vehicles.
think
We
so.
do, and they are used.
Yeah.
Ooh, they
Yeah.
are used.
Cheaper than using the school buses for some
Yeah, right.
things.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you to the board members that were able to attend the expulsion training put on by WSB. Found that very helpful, shared some of that information with you, but just good. Those are hard decisions, and I know the board takes that seriously, so appreciate you attending that if you're available, or reading the book that I sent to you with some of the highlights. Wanted to share some just excitement and recognition about strategic plan updates. Reminder, last year we took a staff check-in survey. I shared the results with you. Just wanted to share a couple things that we've been doing just since that time, which is last spring. So they took that survey in April. One of the things that came up were concerns about response to student behavior. So we've been implementing a district-wide behavior response plan that was developed this summer. We're revising it as we go. We've learned some things like, oh, no, I think we could add this here, we're missing that. We're also now updating our bullying prevention and intervention plan, which is also something that is important and valuable. DPI provided updated guidance last year, so we're using that as our tool. In terms of meeting students' social emotional needs, that was something our staff said that was an area of growth. Of course, we hired 5 new student services staff members. And really one of the things that really allows us to do is to get to more prevention of concerns, get to things earlier, and start to put together some structures and systems that intervene earlier instead of being reactive. So that's been helpful. We're also looking at our, we talked about MTSS, our equitable multi-level systems of support, and revitalizing that structure and those interventions, including looking at our social emotional learning curriculum. The pay practices was something our staff were concerned about. That was before the board generously approved the wage increases, salary increases for this year and next year. So I do think that result would have been a little different if we would have waited a little bit, but I'm glad we didn't. And of course, we're also evaluating our budget right now in terms of what we will need to continue for next year, given the budget deficit that we anticipate. Staff recognition was an area. Some people felt like we weren't recognizing enough staff. We need to diversify our recognition practices, make them very specific, meaningful. And that is a day-to-day comments to someone, cards, events. It's much more than a pencil in your mailbox. So that's something that the principals have really been working on through that. Workload and work-life balance, also a big concern. The strategic plan has helped us with that because we can prioritize what we're focusing on, because we tend to see a lot of shiny objects come our way and go, ooh, that looks fun. Now we have a strategic plan that guides us with that work. And as you know, we've also been streamlining our communications and some of our tasks to be more efficient. Valuing staff input, that was also an area of growth. I'm really pleased with, so far this year, how transparent we've been in our decision-making processes, what's considered. That will be an ongoing commitment. I'm talking about equal opportunities for students with different backgrounds. Of course, we hired a DEIB coordinator. We know that there's gaps that still exist. The Family Equity Team Council has been really helpful in terms of identifying things, day-to-day things that lead to opportunity gaps that I wouldn't have thought of. And that has just been a really rich group because we're breaking down what educational equity looks like and what gets in the way. So that's been exciting. Job satisfaction, certainly we want to see that be 100% of our staff are satisfied with their job. I'm confident that impacts in the other areas will impact that. And then lastly, staff feeling safe at work. And as we dug a little deeper into that, I was thinking it was about our district and student issues. And it, based on the anecdotal information we have, part of the concern about feeling safe at work is really the larger atmosphere of school safety and threats made at school violence, school shootings. And so some of the things that we have done is revising our safety protocols. We conducted a safety audit last year with a third-party consultant, and we're making some changes there, trying to be more consistent. Our safety committee is now meeting monthly, and we met probably every other month last year. So that's helping. And of course, I also believe that student services staff and social emotional learning and behavior response plans also help with people feeling safe. So I just wanted to share that. I'm going to be sharing something with the staff later this week, but wanted to share that with you first.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Very,
some updates.
very beneficial.
And now I am going to share with you a little bit about our pictures around, some of which, connect already. They're always way ahead of us with
Steal your
that.
thunder.
They're so silly.
Aaron, while you're getting that ready, one thing that stuck out in my mind when I read that it's National Principal Month.
Yeah.
I think we should have a National Educator Month also.
Yes. Yeah. Come on.
Isn't there one?
Huh?
I thought there was one.
We have weeks, but not a month.
Oh, I see where you're coming. Okay.
Just so that doesn't happen. Yes. We should. A month. Yeah, and I think there's a couple weeks here and there.
Yes,
but
there are.
It's just certainly not enough. Okay. All right, so, sorry, that's my
What's
background.
happening?
It is just my background.
It's amazing.
I'm sorry, I didn't think about presenting to you today. But
Is that
this
just
is,
for
yeah.
October?
Well, I like to make it interesting, and now I'm
Love it.
lost. I'm trying to think of what I'm doing right now. Okay, yes, here we go.
I think it's great.
Yes, at least I'm not like a potato. I don't know if you've seen those videos where people
the
are like
cat
a
head.
Yes.
potato and they can't get it undone and. All
That's
right,
true.
so we start out, we're pretty heavy Wabisa. They've been really sharing on the social media lately, I tell you. Creative Portraits Art Project. So, and this is something I actually got to stop in and see a little bit in person, but just the students doing their portraits. And she shows like a variety of the models and examples, and you just love to see the pride in the students with their artwork. Also have some reading and writing and partner talking. Literacy is just something that the district is really taking to another level this year, and the teachers are just so excited and being creative and innovative. But that partner work is a part of reading that didn't necessarily exist, when I went to school, and it's a big part of our reading curriculum. Mackenzie Center field trip, a beautiful day to do that. I don't think anybody fell into the muck there as they were collecting samples, but our students just love that hands-on learning.
That's the
So
old game farm, isn't it? Up by Poinette?
I don't know if it is a game farm,
It
but
used-
it is
oh,
by
it used to
Poinette.
be.
Oh, it used to be.
It's by like the Crane Foundation up there.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
up by Baraboo.
Yeah, it's a great place. Our 7th grade goes there as well. Aztalan, 4th grade
Oh,
went to
yeah.
Aztalan. I didn't know that, right? The mysterious Aztalan. What happened?
Did they go
Oh,
through the
there.
village, Aaron?
What's that?
Did they go through the Ashland Village?
I don't know.
It's a
I
sort of
don't
historical,
know.
with
Yeah.
log cabins and all that.
You'd think when you're there, you might as well. It's a huge place.
It is.
We had 7th grade go there one year. Wabisa doing a little staff challenge. I was there for that, and they were so excited and a little bit competitive about getting their hula hoop around the circle as quickly as possible. So good for them. Some team building there in 6th grade. The middle school's really been getting into that building community they do at the start of the year. So just fun to see that in 6th graders. Some door decorating you'll see around, just really creative. The school spirit is just really exciting during homecoming week, and they get a chance to be creative around their themes, as you heard about earlier.
So the door decorations don't conflict with the fire codes at all?
They don't. No. It's a certain percentage of the door,
Okay.
or of the
That's a good
wall is
thing.
covered, so yes. And we don't leave them on or start them on fire.
Safety Sharon, my wife would appreciate that very much.
Yes.
Big on safety.
The choir retreat you heard about, I don't know if you saw the picture on the left. That might be a new one for you to see, but really, what a neat thing that the students got to do. Rock, paper, scissors. I've looked at this picture so many times, and I'm still wondering, who decided they were going to nearly go in the splits?
Right?
I don't know. I just keep looking at it that looks very painful. I would be stuck there in that position or fall over, but very excited. I love the enthusiasm, and of course, Angie Bazan brings it. Little brain break there. This was really neat. This recently, I've talked a little bit at times, talked about it in the travels about literacy and disciplinary literacy. So this is a great example. Reading recipes, circling important key concepts, things in the while you're reading directions. So important. So literacy while cooking. And of course, you heard about the royalty here. Very fun. And our September Optimist Senior of the Month, we're able to recognize, we've got actually, tomorrow morning, we've got another one. We've got October, but AJ Vimmins, very deserving, really a neat and humble kid. So thanks to the Optimists for supporting that. Many of you were at the Indigenous Solidarity Collective. Thanks to that group for putting this together, and our very own Brian Ward. What a great event.
Yeah.
It was really engaging with the performances and most of the speeches. I did my best, but it's hard to keep up with
3-4
Carolyn and
minutes is
Brian.
tough.
I tell you, yeah.
That's right.
I was a little over 3 minutes.
Just a touch, just a touch.
But it was just a great event, beautiful day, well attended.
Oh, it was
Really
amazing.
well attended.
Yeah.
Many people have commented about that, so thank you to the Village and the Community Festival for sharing that. We missed, well, we didn't miss, but it's been a while now. It's National IT Professionals Day, and there's so much that goes on behind the scenes here that you just don't, it just blows your mind. So we are so grateful for that. And today is National Custodial Workers Recognition Day.
You're here.
Actually, that team right there, I was able to see 3/4 of them and thank them for their service. And just, as you know, our building's well-maintained. They're probably a little more viral than you are on Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Just to say, they're
They
getting a lot
had a
of,
nice response today.
yeah, well-deserved.
You bet.
And speaking of you,
Boy.
on behalf of Governor Evers, I would like to share his proclamation. Whereas school boards are locally elected bodies that serve communities with the mission of preparing students for success in higher education, future jobs and careers, and productive engagement in their communities. And whereas school board members are elected to serve students, district employees, and the larger community, working closely with parents, taxpayers, educational professionals, and other community members to do what is best for kids. And whereas school boards are empowered and charged with overseeing the education of students enrolled in their district, as well as the district's employees, finances, operations, and facilities. And whereas school board service is an honor that carries a significant responsibility, and in moments of need, school board members often go beyond the call of duty, certainly the case here. And whereas this week, the state of Wisconsin commends school boards across the state for the important role they play as advocates for public education and as essential partners in the state's efforts to ensure that every kid in Wisconsin has access to a high-quality public education now. Therefore, I, Tony Evers, Governor of the state of Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim October 1st through 7th, 2023 as School Board Week throughout the state of Wisconsin, and I commend this observance to all our state's residents. So congratulations to you. Thank you for your service. I know there's many hours behind the scenes that go on. You do it, make it look so easy. People here, they watch these, of course everybody's watching, and they're like, oh, all you do is show up for a meeting for 3 to 4 hours every other week. But you do such a great job. You're such dedicated members, so the community is very grateful. On behalf of the district, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thanks. And it's great that the governor puts out that proclamation. But for me, it would be more meaningful if the state senate and the state assembly
Yeah.
had a bipartisan proclamation.
Right,
That's what educators really need to hear.
yep, that is true.
So,
True.
Yep, and bipartisan.
but that's my opinion.
And
Don't hold your
and
breath.
funding.
Well, it is official. There's a seal.
Seal.
Oh.
That it's printed, so there's no real seal
Embossed.
there. Thank you. And then upcoming things, there's a bunch of stuff going on. I mean, you know, it's homecoming week, walk to school day is coming up on Wednesday. The new staff fall dinner, checking in. I've been talking to the new staff and they seem to be doing well.
When
That's
is
at
that?
Angelo's, 4 to 6.
When?
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday.
This coming
This coming
Wednesday.
October
The
4th.
4th.
Oh,
Not today, but not tomorrow, but Wednesday.
Two more sleeps.
2 more sleeps.
Two more
Three more
sleeps.
sleeps.
thank you.
Yes,
Reverting
4 to
to
6 at
primary school
Angelo's.
days.
And then you can go to Angelo's and then you can go see the homecoming parade
Yes.
after that.
The homecoming parade's Wednesday as well.
Wednesday at 6. 6, starting at the middle
Yep.
school, coming down to the high school. And then Thursday is Conrad Albion Primary School Family Open House. Thursday is also the Public Safety Building Open House ribbon cutting, 5 to 7.
Yes.
Friday is National Coaches Day, which will be celebrated with a victory on the football field for homecoming. Next Monday is Indigenous Peoples Day. It's also Christopher Columbus Day, which is a required by state statute to recognize, as well as Leif Erikson Day, also there. And then National School Lunch Week is next week, and World Mental Health Day is next week. National Coming Out Day is next week. The week after is National Bus Safety Week, Safe Schools Week. We got Timberley coming up on the 17th and 18th.
It's a big one.
I will be supervising a dorm. I got recruited back.
Wow, blast from the past.
Got
I like
recruited
that.
back.
I
It
like
was-
that.
They were relentless too, but I'm glad to do it. The 18th is Unity Day or Stop Bullying Day. People wear orange on that day. It's also, of course, National Bullying Prevention Month. And then we have our annual meeting on the 23rd. So lots of good stuff coming up. So that concludes my very lengthy report. I timed myself.
Well, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah,
Can I piggyback on a couple of recognitions?
you.
Absolutely.
It is totally agenda related.
That's good.
I wanted to formally recognize the impact that I see in the student services positions that we've hired, specifically at the high school. I'm sure the other schools are also feeling it, but I think, one, I'm hearing so much positive feedback from the community about the vibe at the high school. They're feeling really positive about it. As a parent, I have felt super supported, making the transition to high school and for my youngest. And I think that is something our school district needed, so it's really great to see that.
Desperately.
Yes, and I'm seeing adherence to policies that were previously not followed consistently. And so that was really nice to see. And in that whole process, feedback I gave was received really well. And then, teachers have just been so collaborative and it's been really great. So it feels like there's a little extra breathing room in teachers, some
I think you're
teachers,
right.
some staff. So,
I really do.
yeah.
It's hard to put your finger on it, and it's not necessarily something tangible, but it just seems to me that the whole vibe here, all the way across the district, is different than it has been,
Agreed.
positively.
Well, I would say this, if Aaron responds to other administrators' questions, concerns, teachers' concerns and questions, as he does with ours, we have to be in a much better place than we were before.
Thank you.
So-
This is your week. Stop.
Yeah.
Well, we also couldn't do it without the support
No.
of all of you.
Yeah, that's very kind. Wonderful.
Well
Thanks for
said,
sharing that.
well said.
Sure.
We have a couple action items.
We do.
Yeah. First, action on Human Growth and Development Advisory Committee membership and appointment of a chairperson. I would look for a motion to approve the action.
I will move to approve the Human Growth and Development Advisory Committee members and chairperson as recommended by administration.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Kate, discussion?
Are there
Yeah.
any, oh, go ahead.
You can go, Tom.
Are there any other churches in the village or the school district that we haven't included in here? Do you know, Erin?
I don't think so. I
Okay.
think she sent it to everyone that we had contact information
Okay.
from. And I think just for the community, it might be good to provide a little bit of context, if you don't mind. I know that this is
That's fine.
information you know, but I just,
Yeah.
because there's not a separate handout or something to show them, I just want to say, so this is, a reminder, this is a Citizens Advisory Committee, and according to our policy, the membership is approved by the board, including the chair. And the role of this group for human growth and development is to really advise the board on the design and the implementation of that curriculum. And that includes reviewing the curriculum. And so the district is making a very concerted effort to have a really, a larger committee than we've ever had and make sure that we meet the requirements of state statute, which, there's a lot of people that are to be invited to that, but the most important thing is that no more than 25% of the committee can be school staff
Right.
members. And that's the biggest thing, is that it's meant to be a citizens advisory committee, not a staff advisory committee that you call a citizens advisory
Well, they've
committee.
laid out very specific,
Yep.
requirements in terms of how many of
Yep.
each subset.
Yeah, and so what we did, the process that we used, so the community knows, was sent out emails to staff, families, and then students in grades 9 through 12, high school students. And frankly, I did not anticipate getting over 50 responses.
Really?
Was really, really surprised and pleased, because they're making a commitment for approximately 6 meetings.
Right.
And coming to the board in February with a recommendation. So really great commitment. And because of that response, we had a random selection process. We really felt like we wanted it to be a fair and equitable process where if you expressed interest, you had a chance to be on the committee. We weren't going to pick and choose. And that turned out well. People were very receptive and appreciative. We do have alternates as well, kind of like a jury, that will be joining us for our first meeting, just in case something has changed for somebody. Partly know that we have the 25% of staff. We have that limit. So we need other people
That's great.
to come, or otherwise some staff are going to have to leave.
I've actually talked to a few folks around town that I thought might
Yeah.
bring a different perspective.
Yeah, and that's really important. And that does include clergy, it includes parents. Interestingly, the group that have volunteered, we have several medical professionals, which I think really enhance the conversation. So I do feel like this will represent the district well, based on, the people that were selected through that random selection process, knowing them, their children and different backgrounds, and feel really good about that. We did recommend someone as a chairperson. That was Brian Weaver. Now, Brian is someone that you may know, but for the public to know, kids have come through the district, very involved in public health, and worked with the Department of Public Instruction as a consultant on their Human Growth and Development Committee. So just wanted to provide that context as you take action tonight.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I have a comment. This is a we've talked about it at prior meetings, right? Like, this is a very big undertaking. It's an important curriculum. And it's been a huge process of errands to get community voice represented. And I would say that after reviewing the list and, doing some double checking, I think what is really neat to see is that we have a changing landscape of students, right? They're more diverse in so many different ways. And even through just asking for volunteers and then even randomizing that, I think we're having a really representative makeup of the committee to really help get the voices that are all highly impacted by this, the curriculum, right? And it's, you know, we have two really important resolutions that if the curriculum is not reviewed really closely, we could very easily violate, you know, the diversity resolution, the LGBTQIA+ resolution that we put in place. And so I really appreciate how thorough the process has been to get there. And I think I'm really excited to hear what the committee comes up with.
Aaron, I apologized. I read through the document. Did someone from one of the churches respond or not?
Yes.
Oh, they did, okay.
Yes, we do. We have one.
I just couldn't remember.
representative. And that's been pretty typical in the committees in the past.
And the only reason I ask is that members of faith might have a whole different idea of what
Yep.
human growth and development might be, so.
And I think that's why it's written into the statute
Yeah.
specifically
I'm sure.
Yeah.
For that.
I think you can
Yep.
probably take that to the bank, Tom.
Yeah, I think so.
Anything else? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next is action on second reading and adoption of policies 5517, the student anti-harassment, and 5771, search and seizure. I would look for a motion to approve.
Sure, I move to approve the second reading and adoption of policies 5517 and 5771 as recommended by administration.
Thank you, Tom. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Megan? Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And action on first reading of policy 2105, mission of the district. I would look for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the first reading of policy 2105 as recommended by administration.
Thank you, Tom. Second?
I'll second.
Kate? Thank you. Discussion?
How long has that sign been up, Aaron? Did I miss it last time?
No, Brandon, Friday?
It looks terrific.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't they great?
You'll see
Yeah.
them around.
They're in
Not
every
the only
building.
place.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't
Yeah,
it
because
turn
the
out great?
picture you shared, it was a different wall in the background, so now I feel like I have to
Yeah,
go on a
what-
scavenger hunt.
What wall was that?
Yeah,
I don't
guess
know,
it's
it's like
flipped. That's
cinder block.
CEPS, I think. That's not,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
here.
that's right.
That's back
Yeah.
here, but CEPS was the one I think I shared in the picture.
Yeah, okay.
When you go in, that's the kindergarten entrance.
But we digress.
You're trying to get
other
to that
discussion?
844, aren't ya?
Right at it.
But compliments whoever designed this sign
Yes,
and made it.
yeah,
spectacular.
Greg Nelson really took the lead with a company that,
Okay.
that he's worked with before, and so has Corey worked with. So,
Any
yeah.
other? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And I would look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Kate.
Of course.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Yeah, Megan. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 4-0, and we are adjourned at 8:43.
That, so close.
Dang.
Not bad, not bad.
Sorry.
With
And then
a couple
my
of
wife is gonna love this.
additional drones. Oh, jeez.
Really appreciate, she
Oh,
does not
boy.
love that picture of me, of her, but. Yes.
Thank you, everyone.